Alright, so welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, this is a show. I'm Bases of Operations. You can find me on the internet all over the place as Base of Operations. Yeah, this show I am basically going to be taking. Oh, let me get my book. I wasn't ready. The Skyrim video game, and turning it into a D&D campaign, and I'm bringing everyone along with me for the ride. This is not, of course, the only way to do this, or even possibly even the best way of doing it, but hopefully it's a way that it could be done should you guys want to go ahead and do something similar for your own campaign, or anything that you want to do. I'm a first time dungeon master, so I am new to all of this anyway. So the very first thing I need to do when designing Skyrim as a campaign is I have the book. I bought this back when the game first came out back in 2011, and I've played the game plenty of times, but this time I'm going to be playing the game through the eyes of somebody who wants to put what you see on the screen onto the tabletop. So we're going to get cracking on with that. I'm going to start a new game, of course. If my controller worked, let's turn that off, turn it back on again. There we are, now it's working. Alright, so yeah, we're going to start a new campaign. We're going to have a look at it. So yes, I will be stopping it and starting it throughout the whole thing. And of course, if you want to rewatch this, we are streaming it currently live to Twitch, YouTube, DLive, Mixer. I think they're streamed all over the place live, and you can rewatch the VOD if you head on over to the Meeple Palace on their YouTube channel. Alright, so hopefully this works as a campaign. Now my computer is not fantastic, so we'll have to see. Hopefully it will work, but we're looking at it. We're not looking at it for gameplay. We're looking at it how to make it into a tabletop game. So we might have that in our favor. I do have some mods, as you can see just about in the corner there. I do have some mods on Skyrim. They're not changing the game at all. They're making the tools lighter, and I have a mod that tells you where, when you start the quest for the Stones of Berenzia, you can see them on the map, so you can, you don't have to actually search for them. As a GM, that would be helpful, because you need to know where they are ahead of time. But my players may not do that. So we will start a new game, and of course, this particular episode is session 1, game 1. So we're going to be building the game as my players will come across it. Hopefully you can join me along the campaign as we do more and more. I'll give you an update about what my players did while they actually played, and I'll create my session notes for each game as we go along. That being said, I want to do this every week, but my game isn't every week. However, I have a feeling that each game session prep will go across a couple of these episodes. So I very much doubt that in the couple of hours that I'm going to sit here doing the game, doing my prep work, that I'm going to get the entirety of session 1 prepped. So we're going to let this go through, because of course my players, now obviously in Skyrim you play as an individual person. You're a sole player and you play along. However, obviously I'm going to have about 6 people around the table, so having all of this bit here isn't going to be very good. I am, however, having a look at who's around. We have Rayloff here. He's going to be a recurring character throughout the game, so we have him. We have Lokia, who, let me just give you a straight out and out Oh yeah, it has, is it? It's moved. Hi, Suzukitty. Thank you very much for pointing that out. I was wondering why it wasn't working properly. So that's going to have paused there while I'm not actually on the screen. There we go. Thank you for pointing that out. I will move it back to there. Suzukitty, thank you for joining me. Let's bring this back up. Yeah, so we have located, and yeah, spoiler alert, if you haven't played this game, you know, I'm probably going to be talking about events that happen later on. Sorry. But we have Loki here in the cart with us. He is about to die, so I will make sure that I make a note that he's here. And we of course have Jarl Ulfric's Stormcloak. Again, I will show you what I have. I have a folder next to me. I have already begun my prep for this week. But I do need to actually, I didn't have the chat up as well. Now I need to get used to this, all of this as well. There we go. So yeah, whenever the game pauses, just stops dead. It hasn't crashed. I'm just changed the screen. So yeah, I made a note that we have Roloff, we have Lokir, and we have Jarl Ulfric. Chaotic Eldar, thank you very much for joining us. Of course, again, there we go. So what Roloff has just mentioned there is the Thalmor. So of course, I need to make a note that I need to have a look to see who the Thalmor are, because you know I need to, you know, obviously to make a game. As much anybody playing this game, of course, you know, it is immersive. It's an RPG. It lends itself perfectly to tabletop, to Dungeons and Dragons. However, for my players to also feel that, you know, I need to pay attention to what the game developers have put in there to make it immersive, and then I need to recreate that on the tabletop. Hail Jarl Ulfric Stormcloak, yeah, definitely. So yeah, I need to keep an eye out for all of these extra bits and pieces that they do and add it. And of course we have somewhere here, I think he's walked off actually, he was just talking, yeah. At the top there we have General Tullius as well. It's an interesting little bit of dialogue there. It's just more to do with you know, making you know, again, making sure that, you know, whatever anybody says, that comment about, you know, he used to be sweet on a girl from here. Wonder if she makes juniper berries mixed in. Made with juniper berries mixed in. I want to try and give my players that as well.
When I was born, imperial walls and towers used to make
And then we have a little vignette over to the side here with the boy and his father.
Why? I want to watch the song.
inside the house.
Yes, Papa.
Why are we stopping? Why do you think? End of the line.
Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pause that for a second there, because basically, as I was mentioning, it's all well and good, you know, having a character who is going to be executed in the cart with the prisoners that are about to be executed. However, with a party of 6, that's going to be a little more difficult to put into place. Now, one thing I will say is we do have another cart here that was arriving in front. There are 4 people in that cart, which is very helpful. You don't get to meet any of them, which is very helpful, because 3 of those people in that cart could be 3 of the members of my party. However, what I do need to do is, rather than having everybody just suddenly, you know, they all got ambushed at the same time, much like the character in Skyrim who was caught in an Imperial ambush, a classic case of wrong place and wrong time, wrong place. It's kind of a thing as we need to consider, how are my characters actually going to start? At what point of these character lives am I going to start the game in? So this is the first point where I stop the game and I change to here. So of course, like I mentioned, I have already begun creating the plot points for this for the first game. We have, of course, the NPCs, which I mentioned. I did mention General Tullius. Hamming is the child. Hamming's father is the child's dad, who, you know, just as you just saw there, just as we were pulling up about the boy wanted to watch the soldiers, and the father saying, "Get inside," you know, not for your eyes. We have Rayloff, of course, who is with the party. And we have Ulfric Stormcloak, of course. We have Loki here. And if you notice here, I put non-recurring, which is a little bit unfortunate, because basically that means you're going to die. Maybe you could have side-by-side cuts for the full party. It would be, but the thing is, right, as much as that would work, I mean, just adding an extra cart and having the whole party, what that does, though, is a little bit jarring for immersion, because, of course, for having an entire party of 6 who don't know each other yet to all happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, it's a bit weird. He just loses his head for a moment. So what I'm going to do instead is a little bit more interesting. So what I've decided to do now, firstly, let me backtrack a bit. We have the beginning. You can see here that we have, I've literally written myself a script, something that I can say to my group before they start. Okay, that our story is set in the land of Skyrim. Half of the country is a mild and temperate land, while the other northern side of the continent is covered in a blanket of perpetual frost and snow. Like, if anybody's mentioned, if you've played Skyrim, you'll know. And then I give it a bit of a Dungeons and Dragons twist, slightly armed by saying Nords, Elves and Orcs are commonplace in the land, with a smaller population of the odd Khajiit. I don't have any Tabaxi players, so I can give them their proper name. Argonians, again, I don't have any lizard folk players in the party, so I'll use, you know, that's what they are. And Dragonborn, because I do have a Dragonborn. And seldom as seen are halflings, because of course trying to create halflings into Skyrim is going to be a little bit difficult. Same with gnomes. The dwarven population is thought to have died out over 2 centuries ago, because I don't have any dwarves, but there are old and autonomous ruins that can still be found to adventurers brave enough to look for them, and braver still are those who delve in to find what hidden secrets they have to hold. An interesting twist there, because of course if you play Skyrim, you know that a lot of the dwarves are called Dwemer, and they have a lot of, you know, there are a lot of still functioning ruins that can be found, and also a little bit of a plot hook. If you come across a dwarven ruin, perhaps you might want to have a look in there, because they could have some treasures and secrets inside. Adventurers are not uncommon among the lands of Skyrim, and many have delved into delved deep into the ancient Nord crypts, fighting the undead Duragar, which of course we'll get to. How am I going to create enemies for Dungeons and Dragons using? Not only am I using the Skyrim walkthrough with all of the bad guys written down, and how to reskin, literally, I mean, it could be a case of just take the stat block of a zombie and just call it a Duragar, and then you're done, you know, but we'll get to that later on. Or even the hideous and distorted snow elves, commonly known as Falmer. Our particular story begins in the hold of Falkreath and the fortified hamlet of Helgen. Helgen is very small, with a population of only about 50 residents or so, because I've looked at Helgen as we were driving through there, and I kind of figured out, you know, there's not many people there. But what gives it its important status is Helgen Keep, a large stone fort that was built as an invaluable strategic position close to the southern border of Skyrim to Cyrodiil, as well as being a midpoint for the northerly trade routes to Whiterun, which actually comes from, that little bit of information there came from the Wikipedia page of Helgen. So that literally is me giving the players a brief background. What if some of the players were already locked up and introduced afterwards? You see, somebody is ahead of the curve here. So we'll get to that in just a minute. But yeah, what I've done here is I've given them just a basic overview of what world they're in, given them some brief inclinations as what they might come across, even if there isn't really any factual, any facts that they can take. It gives them a little hint. I do, of course, you may also notice at the top of the page here, I have song number 3 from Past to Present and song number 23, Unbound. They are actually songs from the Skyrim soundtrack, and I have found them. I have Spotify, and so I'm giving myself a brief cue as to some background music. And I've picked some music from the Skyrim soundtrack that kind of fit nicely. Now this is where I've actually already done a few bits and pieces, and you can see some of these are what you will see in a minute. But however, at this point here, when I first wrote this, I only had 2 or 3 people, and having them all in the car at the same time would have been helpful. However, I think that I have to add in some more details. So what I've decided to do is that half of the party will of course arrive in that second cart, which will be helpful. But what I will do first is we will have a brief introduction to, I will pick one of my characters who happens to be my father, who plays a Dragonborn, and he is going to be playing a member of the Imperial Army who has defected for one reason or another. He feels that the Empire wasn't, their tactics or their modus operandi wasn't what he was expecting it to be, so he left the army and has now been jailed and sentenced to death for desertion. So what we can write here, so that I can give me, and all this is, as much as if we just scroll down, what I have here is bullet points, spots and spots of here. You can see that there are some things that are in bold, which we'll go over in a short while. But to start with, the bold points are things that I need to remember, make sure that I get across a point that I need to make across. However, most of these points are just bullet points. There's something I can read, I can say it out loud, and then I can expand on it. People can ask questions at the table, because that's the important part of D&D. The party needs to be able to feel the ability to talk to the DM. So what we can say here, a Dragonborn is sat in a damp or a dark, damp cell awaiting his execution. Nice and simple. I can mention that the Dragonborn is sat. I would just explain that the cell, and I could possibly explain how big the cell is if I really feel the need. However, that's enough. We have introduced one of our characters. The next thing I'm going to do is we need to have a reason for that Dragonborn to now leave his cell and go outside to be executed, where he will meet the other half of the party. And in doing that, I will have and then in bold, Imperial Guard enters his cell and orders him to stand up and leave the room. 2 O's in room. Of course, I'm always thinking about what are my players likely to think, and considering I know this is my dad, I know that he was a member of the Imperial Army, he is likely to ask me to does he know this person? And players play D&D because they love to roll dice. So at the end of the day, so what I'll do is in here is a DC 10 history check. Will reveal to the Dragonborn that this is a and we can just say he's a former ally in a previous battle with, and then we can just come up with something anyway, with a Khajiit caravan 10 years previous, something like that. Nice and simple. And we've given it a battle with a Khajiit caravan because I don't want the history of this Imperial Guard. Literally is, he doesn't have a name. He is Imperial Guard number 1. He is literally the first Imperial Guard that they've come across. His name currently is Imperial Guard number 1, and so I don't want the history of this guard to be something that my player or my players in general read too much into. However, all of the time, as much as possible, if I can give my players moments of history that tie them into the story, they will feel it's much more part of them and part of their story. So this random guard that I have just literally thought up on the spot, one of my players knows him. If the player never actually asks that if he recognizes this person, he doesn't recognize the person. It's not until it's kind of a bit like, Schrodinger's cat. My dad is the Dragonborn ex-Imperial Guard. He both knows this player and knows this guard and doesn't know this guard. It's not until he actually asks the question and makes the check, that's when he either does or doesn't know. Up until that point, it could go either way. So that's it, and I'm just giving myself that opportunity to get ahead of the improvisation. A lot of what I need to do is improv on the spot, do it now and there and then. If I could do the improv now, it means that when I'm at the table, I actually sound like I know what I'm talking about. So, there we are. So what will now happen after that brief introduction, we will then, the Dragonborn is removed from his cell into a stone hallway. The cell to his left is being emptied of its tiefling occupant, which is another one of my players, and the cell to his right is being emptied of its wood elf occupant. Pretty sure that's the way around I should be doing it, because if I just have a look, and I do have a D&D Beyond campaign set up. Every NPC is going to need a backstory and a side quest, the ones you think they won't chat to especially. We know that from us in Xander's game, making him work on the fly. Absolutely. And to be honest with you, playing a game with, playing that game where I do look for the NPCs, that, I do want to talk to them. They are part of this world. And would assume that those NPCs know information. There are certain information that they would know. So, you know, I need to make sure I'm kind of getting along with it. We'll be playing a drow in this. I do have, actually, in this campaign, I currently have a dark elf rogue. I have a high elf ranger. I have a dragonborn fighter, a tiefling rogue, as well as a wood elf ranger. And I'm also looking at adding one final character to it, who I need to have a chat with that person and make sure they've got a nice character made up for them. So of course, there we are. So what I've just done here is I've literally just introduced half of the party, and we haven't even got to the video game yet. You know, the Dragonborn, the Tiefling, which is the Tiefling Rogue, and the Wood Elf Ranger, those have all been introduced there and then. I will, at this point, give the players whom have just been introduced a chance to describe themselves to the other players. So this bit here, of course, is, you know, it's kind of a case of, it depends on how into the game people want to get, but you know, this gives them a chance. You know, the Dragonborn looks to his left and his right, and he has seen a tiefling and an elf. It's not for me personally to then describe and give form to everybody else's characters. You know, that's my job to give the NPCs form, but you know, the player characters are their own and they can do what they want with them. So that's the point where, you know, not only the Dragonborn, the Tiefling and the Wood Elf can all explain what they look like. I believe I might be a cleric, but possibly a barbarian. Yeah, I was going to be a barbarian. Hey, there's nothing wrong with being a barbarian. One of these days, Chaotic Eldar, you will get to meet Thok. I tell you what, that'll be interesting. Alright, so what we'll then do is have let's get rid of the bold. The players are then roughly escorted out to the yard by a female human captain. Ordering them to wait for the wagons carrying Ralof. Let's actually give him a capital letter because it is a name. Ralof, Jarl Ulfric, and the other guy's name who's about to die. What's his name? Lokia. Is that how you spell it? I can't remember. Yeah, there we go. The second wagon carries the other 3 members of the party. And there we go. So that has now I have now introduced all 6 of my player characters in the space of about 5 minutes. But it would feel much more interesting and a little less immersion breaking to have half of them already captured by various reasons. You know, the Dragonborn being a deserter, the Tiefling being a rogue has been you know, caught, you know, trying to smuggle skooma or something. You know, he's a rogue. And then the Ranger possibly accused of poaching. You know, what they've been accused for doesn't really count for anything because, you know, their sentence is death. And you know, I kind of want later on, I kind of want my party to escape Helgen via the aid of Ralof. So I'm kind of painting a bad picture for the Imperials for now, and we'll have to see where they go from here. Xander found an app, Pocket World, for 99p, and you can create buildings and towns. He started to create Glimmerscale. I'll see tomorrow what it's called. Rogar's Home looks cool. That looks awesome. I can't wait to see it. It's been really great kind of theatre of the mind, but it's nice to get something to, you know, latch your theatre of the mind onto. So there we go. And now, of course, I am now back to where I was at the beginning, where the party is gathered in front of the towers of Helgen's Keep, all bound at the wrists, awaiting the arrival of prisoners. Well, I don't need to do that. There we are. So I can delete that bit because they're now all been, but now I've brought all of the characters together into the one place. So there we go. I've now introduced my characters. Now what we can do is I can go back to this screen here. Now I know that there's not much there at the minute, but there will be in a minute once I click this button. Hopefully, will it show up? There we go. Alright, so what we can do now is, there's the other party.
Keep the gods waiting for us.
Ralof.
No, wait, we're not rebels.
And so this obviously is a lot of vignettes here.
You've got to tell them we worked with you. This is a mistake.
That course will talk when we call your name. One at a time.
Oh, and a little side note. That woman who just spoke, the one in the center of the screen there, that's the female captain. Just so you know.
Their damn wrists. Ulfric Stormcloak, Jarl of Winter. It has been an honor, Jarl of Ralof of Riverwind. Nokir of Rorikstead. No, I'm not a rebel. You can't do this.
This I'll obviously put into the game.
Anyone else feel like running?
Now that'll be interesting, you see, because I love playing Skyrim. I can't wait to go through it. But as a D&D adventure, I really like the Dragonborn DLC. Yeah. Well, that little vignette there, of course, with Loki is actually part of the D&D game as well, is because, of course, I don't want my players to assume that perhaps they can fight their way out of it. You know, by instilling them that they cannot fight their way out, that as soon as somebody runs, there's the first person you kill, you take their armor. I can't do that with a party of 6. Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, so I'm going to, you know, they do have their armor on, but they have no weapons and their hands are bound. So theoretically, no one's going to be stupid.
Wait. You there. Step forward.
Now, of course, this part of the game in Skyrim, this is all about character creation, and obviously my characters have already done that, so we're going to skip through this as quickly as we can.
Who are you?
If anybody wants to throw in the chat, what shall I be? I could be Argonian, Breton, Dark Elf, High Elf, an Imperial, Khajiit, Nord, an Orc, Redguard or Wood Elf. Feel free to throw in your suggestions. Rogue jumps on a horse and rides off to the sunset before the dragon returns to steal stuff for toasty bodies. Didn't see the notification, Pluto. Thank you very much for joining me. You haven't really missed a lot. You've just missed me introducing my characters to the game, and we are just about to start character creation. Dunmer don't exist because they're oh no, Dunmer. There we go. Dark Elf. I see 2 people saying Dark Elf, so yeah, there we go. Let's be a Dark Elf then. Is it going to press OK? Oh yeah, I need to go that way. There we go. Male or female? Quickly. What do we want? Male or female? Who do we want to be? Male. Alright, let's go male. First one that I saw. Let's go. Oh, Christ, he looks dead. Oh, wow, look at that mohawk. Oh, hello, what's this? Oh, yeah, oh, no, that's cool. There we go. Dark elf with a mohawk. I like that. There we go. With a mohawk. We've got to agree with that. Nope. What have I done there? Hang on. I'm doing something wrong. There we go. Head. We're not going to mess around with that. Let's have a look at your eyes. Yeah, that'll be fine. Alright, and then what we need to do now is we need to come up with a name. Have we got a name? Scared face. Scarred, yeah. We need a name though. What should we call him? Should we just call him Dave the Dark Elf? I have a feeling that Dave the Dark Elf is going to be Warlex. Duath. Ran shadow. Oh, it means shadow. Ooh. Have we got anything else? Any advance on Warlex or Duath? Rogar backwards. You know what funny thing is? Rogar backwards, Ragor. It actually Ragor kind of Rodney, but call him Dave. I think, you know what, I think this is it, Dave the Dark Elf. I think, you know, we're not going to be too clever about this. We're going to go Dave the Dark Elf. There we go.
Gods really have abandoned their people, aren't they? Captain, what should we do? He's not on the list.
Forget the list. He goes to the block.
By your orders, Captain. I'm sorry. We'll make sure your remains are returned tomorrow. Follow the captain, prisoner.
Right, here we go. Alright, so I think that's a good position to stop. Just before General Talis decides to talk to, just before he talks to Ulfric, we can bring up back here. So I can mention, so we've got, all of them are gathered. We've got General Talis, leader of the Imperial forces of Skyrim, looks on as the prisoners approach from the south into Helgen. I think it's more to do with as the prisoners are gathered for execution, and this is where things, so this is Hamming. This is where we're going to start fiddling around with some of all of the things that we've seen so far. We're going to change them a little bit. Dave's got all the D's. So, first of all, we've got Hamming. At some point, he's going to say, you know, oh, look, Daddy, the rebel leader is here. Can I watch? Obviously, like I said, I'd already written this out, and I've kind of changed it since then. And, of course, Hamming's father tells him that it's not for him to see. Rayloff is ushered off the cart. And you can hear him say, I've given him light Scottish, you know, don't worry, you're not going to have to listen to me say it. But he's going to mention that, you know, it's Helgen, he used to be sweet and a lass around these parts. And yes, I've written it out in Scottish just so that to help me with it. And he'll say, I wonder if she still makes that mead with the juniper berries. And then an Imperial soldier, which happens to be Hadvar, ushers the prisoners forward, checking the names off the list, starting with Rayloff, and then Lokia, who then says he did nothing wrong, and runs off. And the female soldier captain, yells the archers to stop him, and Loki is peppered with arrows, and he is slain. Hadvar approaches the party one by one, checking the names. Are on the list. I'm not going to say none are on the list because I'm just going to say yeah, they were on the list. I think I will put one of them is not on the list. Again, just a case of, you know, it doesn't matter. They've been caught. They're going to get killed. Put the name on the list, and then they're on the list, and they can die. So at this point, I was trying to write this from memory, and I realised that this is the point we're about to watch now. So it's not Hadvar that does it. It is General Tullius that speaks to him. And actually at this point I think it would be an idea if we just have a listen to what he had to say, and then we can add it to it, because it's quite an important plot point. Up until now everything's been immersion, but now what we can do is we can actually listen to a plot point of the story as to what happened and why this is all happening.
Ulfric Stormcloak. Some here in Helden call you a hero, but a hero doesn't use the power of the voice to murder his king and usurp his throne. You started this war, plunged Skyrim into chaos, and now the Empire is going to put you down and restore the peace.
And that is where we first hear Alduin's roar, which is very interesting. So what I need to do now is come back here and see if I've got this kind of right. Now I don't want to write this word for word. You know, I do have one member of my party that has played Skyrim. I think possibly two. So I don't want to do this word for word. Otherwise it's just going to be a case of, yeah, this is going to be the game, and if I can memorize the game, I can play this game and just get ahead of it. So General Tullius approaches him, and unlike the others, he is gagged. Ulfric Stormcloak, Yard of Wilhelm, at last we have you here for justice. Murdering the Emperor, which obviously he didn't murder the Emperor, he murdered the High King of Skyrim. So paraphrasing is cool. Yeah, absolutely. And usurping his throne. You started this war, plunged Skyrim into chaos, and now the Empire will put you down and restore the peace. This will be a mighty victory for the Imperial Army, for sure. I think that's pretty good. I've changed it. I've got the words of point. I've given... one thing I haven't mentioned it is about using the power of the voice, the Thum, which is an entire set of magic I'm going to have to create, which will happen way down the line. We will sort that out later on. So what I will do here is, using the power of the voice and murdering the High King of Skyrim and usurping his throne. That doesn't sound right. So what we could do is say something along the lines of, how dare you use the power of the voice to murder the High King and usurping his throne. That's fair enough, and I don't know why that's a capital U. It doesn't make sense. So you start this one, and then there we go. I think that pretty much works out. Okay. And here we go. At this point there is a loud, thunderous roar. Lots of, what was that? Look out, do you see anything? And other such commotion. And the captain calls out for proceedings to go on as planned. Now, again, this is the second time that somebody has the ability to roll some dice, should they wish. If any of my party decide to say, what was that? Well, you know, can I see what it was? It's a very high DC, because Alduin is currently not particularly in sight. he is using the forests, the mountains, and the sun to kind of, hide his way and sneak up on Helgen. So it's a high DC, but if somebody does pass a DC 25 perception, ideally, theoretically, at this stage in the game, that will probably be a natural 20. They will see Alduin, an ancient black dragon, approaching from the southeast behind the tower. I've given it an arbitrary kind of direction because I've not actually said where anybody is yet. It's just he's going to be he's gliding low behind the tower, so that's what we have him. So let us move back into the game. Takes a while for it to load up and does my head in. Right, here we go. And of course, in the game, you can't see him, and he is approaching from the direction that I am looking.
Yes, General Tullius. Give them their last rites.
As we commend your souls to Aetherius, blessings of the eight divines
For the love of Talos, shut up and let's get this over with.
learn up as you wish.
Come on! I haven't got all morning. My ancestors were smiling at the Imperials. You say the same.
Thunk. There we are. Off with his head.
Hideous bastards!
Justice!
Death to the Stormfolks!
As fearless in death as he was in life.
Next, the Dark Elves!
Alright. So that's another call from Alduin. So what we're going to do is have a quick look here, and it's a lot of backwards and forwards. Unfortunately, trying to change a game now, you could spend ages just looking at this and going through the entire thing. But I'm doing it bit by bit, because of course it's I need to keep up with what's going on in the game. And of course, at this stage of the game, my players have about as much control over the game as somebody playing the video game has. You just kind of have to sit back and watch it all happen. So the priestess of Archaea approaches the group and begins saying, "May the blessings of the eight divines be upon you, and that your souls." I'm not going to go through the whole spiel that she just did, and he is interrupted by a gruff prisoner who exclaims, "Damn your eight, for the love of Talos, let's be on with it." Again, a tiny little bit of insight in for the players to see what type of religions there are available, because let's face it, nobody has their entire backstory solid. I mean, I for one, I play Rogar on Fridays, and up until recently he didn't have a religion, and even now it might not actually be that much of a religious person. So but anyway, a little bit that we have the 8 and we have Talos, and he approaches the block. Maybe you can have the gruff fellow spew insults until dead. Possibly, yeah. Again, I mean, these are only going to be points, or I can play it out. I can give it more if I need to, and I can impromptu that sort of stuff. But yeah, we'll see. You followed Darbella. That does not surprise me. But of course he is then executed, and one of the players is called to the block. And this, of course, again, we have Watch the Skies and One They Fear, because of course we are almost about to start getting into the action of this scene where my players actually take control of their characters. Azura perhaps, or actually Sheograth. Well, we need to be getting into those and stuff. I'm noticing there's some weird small sounds happening, like a faint alien message not yet translated. If you listen really quietly, it's crickets. It's the noise from the video game. Because it's paused and I've come off of it, it's literally the background noise from the game. If not, it is it's the 3D printer. And actually, what I will say, we have mentioned Alduin so far this game, and we do have a certain dragon currently being printed now. It is getting there. It's a 2-day print, so we are slowly getting there. You see above here, you can kind of see the shape of the dragon. His head down at the bottom there, his tail at the top. It's a 2-day print, so hopefully come 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon he should be printed. And if you want to see the picture of that, make sure that you are in the Meeple Palace Discord. Of course, because you can watch the VOD of this on YouTube, so if you are watching this in the future, make sure you're in the Discord and you can see pictures and stuff. So, yes, but anyway, yeah, the sound you can hear, I don't think it's a 3D printer, I think it's the crickets from Skyrim that you can hear. And yeah, there we are, there's the Discord link. Thank you very much, Missy. Alright, so, yes, so I am about to change the music on the game, because we will have Alduin suddenly approaching. But we do have this bit here, this moment here, kind of skips the next couple of minutes of game time, because if we come, no, I don't want to do that. I want to, did you hear the music pop in there just as I was in the wrong screen? There we go. So, no, I've done that wrong. Let's go to there. I don't have the chat up either. This is really annoying. I need to remember to keep the chat up on the screen. Skyrim, here we go. Right. So yeah, so this is we're going to skip the next bit because this is pretty much...
I said next prisoner.
To the block, prisoner. Nice and easy.
I love the fact that in the game they left his head. It's like right there. It's just a head. It's like if you think about how many people are about to be executed here, and there's Alduin right there.
Sentry.
Here we go. Boom. And if we listen. And now we have started the game. Wow. Lenathon, you changed colour. Yeah. Nice attention to detail. Alright, so basically what has just happened there, and you hear the music is now changed as well. Which of course I will do for my players at the table. Now, let me just come across to the I love this. I keep stopping this. Oh, that's my desk view. I don't need that yet. This is what we have here. So we change the name. So of course the X-Men raises his head, another thunderous roar is heard, and Alduin slams into the top of the tower and breathes acid across the square. Now what I might actually do, because of course black dragons in D&D are acid-based dragons. However, one thing I wasn't considering doing when I originally wrote this introduction was creating Thuum magic. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to change that to say I think that's how you spell those words. And then instead of avoiding the players, he's going to throw the players back away from the dragon. Now, I would like to just point out right now, before I go any further, Dragonborn, no, dragon. that I am fully aware that the dragons in Skyrim are not dragons, they're wyverns. The reason why you know that is because they have only 2 feet and their 4 limbs are a part of their wing structure. I am not going to go down that line, so for the future I will call them dragons, but I am fully aware that Skyrim dragons are wyverns. But moving on from there, so instead of him breathing acid, he is going to use his dragon shout. It's going to give the I'm pretty sure it's Fus. I'm going to have to look that up. But anyway, he's going to shout Fus Roda and throw the players back away from the dragon. And at this point, and I did put this here, and I do think I need to put it in bold as well, the players are not meant to fight the dragon. I've put that in my notes here. Whoops. I put that in my notes here because I need to make it perfectly clear that my dragons need to, that my players need to run from this fight and not stand there and fight. Fus. Thank you very much. I suppose Google helps when you're doing that. Fus Roda. So yeah, I do not want my players to fight the dragon. I do not want a TPK the second I allow them to use their characters. So at this point, as soon as he gets thrown away, I kind of want to see if one of them does try to talk to the dragon. Yeah, the difference being is that I will not let them talk to the dragon, and as soon as a player tries to talk to Alduin, he will shout again a short force and just knock them back down again. So hopefully once they do it the first time, they would not do it again. Gods no, I'd rather not fight an ancient black dragon at level 1. Nope, no thank you, absolutely. And yeah, I am not even going to make my players roll for it. They all know that this is an ancient black dragon. They know full well that this thing is going to kill them. So this is why the very next thing is Ralof calls to them, quickly friends, the gods won't give us another chance. After freeing himself of his bonds, he frees them if they come with him. He's not going to do that. He's just going to call them to him. I want to make sure that my players maintain their bound hands. I do not want them to, be free. I don't want them to give them an opportunity to think that they have an ability to fight, as well as, I have, if these guys, and here as well, if the players run a different way, try and improv them back together again. In other words, I'm going to put a thumping great black dragon in front of them to tell them to go the other way. But the thing is, there's only so much as a DM you can do, and if your players decide that they're going to run the entire opposite direction of what you want them to do, you don't want to railroad your players, but you do want your players to do what you've expected of them to a degree. And you cannot, if they go completely the other way, there's just no way you can improv a different escape from Helgen. This entire first game that they're going to be playing is about escaping Helgen, and that's what they're going to need to do. And I can't improv a entirely different setup. I would need to try and figure out a different way of escaping from Helgen, as well as then leading on to the rest of the game, which, if you've played Skyrim, you know that once you've left Helgen, you then make your way to Riverwood. That's how the beginning of this game works. That's how the beginning of my game's going to work. So I don't want them running in opposite directions. I want them to follow Ralof. The other thing as well is that this is also improving the chances that when they get the choice about whether they escape through Helgen Keep with Ralof or Hadvar, they will choose Ralof, because not only have I painted the Imperials in a bad light, I have also given Ralof is the one that actually helped them out. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, using fallen debris that says don't go that way, absolutely. Fallen debris, a thumping black dragon, you know, a locked gate. I mean, if we go back to the game right now, and I mean, I could end up dying doing this, but you know, this is why, you know, I'm playing the game, and it doesn't really matter. Hey, back to the music. The gods won't give us another chance this way. So he's telling you to go into that castle here, which is directly opposite this here. And you can see, if we have a look, all of this is gone. There's nothing here. Alright? So, I mean, what was that? I thought I could pick up an arrow then. I mean, even if we go over here, there's nothing here. So we can't go that way. So, I mean, even this game has actually put into effect the fact that there is nothing you can do. You have to go the way it's telling you to go. And the thing is, even this game, you don't feel like you're being railroaded into it. It's just a case of it's a natural progression of what needs to be done. Yeah, alright, I'll get there in a minute. See, over here, the entire road is completely blocked. There's fire there. If I go up here, there's nothing in here. And these are the sorts of things I'll do. You know, there's nothing here. Be right back. Alright, no worries. And so yeah, there's absolutely nothing I can do except for doing what Rayloff basically tells me to do. Actually, even there's a gap here. What can I do up here? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Oh, hello. Bloody hell. Yeah, and obviously, you know, being a dragon, you know, in this game, he can actually breathe fire. Of course, that would probably be acid. Other than that, there he is. Dramatic. Go on without me. There we are. All right, so we come in here.
What is that thing? Could the legends be true? Legends don't burn down villages.
Legends don't burn down villages. Alright, so we've done that bit. So yeah, this is the thing. I mean, if my players decide that they don't want to be doing what I've told them to do, I need to try and get them back together. And the point is that the roads are blocked, there's a black dragon in there, it drops down in front of you and force throws them back. Whatever it is he does, I'm going to do it. One thing I have noticed, actually, I didn't realise, am I distorted? Is my voice distorted? It's kind of, it looks like it's redlining without redlining. So I just want to have a look at this a second, because that's not good. Where's my mic? There. No, cancel that. Where are the filters? I sound a bit croaky. But I have a feeling. Perception roll of 4. There's fire there. Yeah, I did. You notice that, did you? I didn't see the fire. Have a look at the filters. Let me just have a look at these filters. Let me just bring this up here. I need to see behind the curtain. There we go. That seems to be a little bit better. I don't think I'm maxing out the mic anymore. Let me just turn that up a little bit to about there. Hopefully that sounds a little bit better. Let's close that. It's the same thing that was happening. Ooh, that went too high. It's the same thing that was happening to my microphone the last time we were playing D&D. There we go. You see, it's the same thing that happened last time we were playing D&D. I'd maxed out my the gain up too high, but the noise suppression gets rid of the static. So there we go. All right. Anyway, so we're going to go back to here. What have we got? We got 11:15. I think we'll probably go for another 45 minutes of this. And if you notice, I haven't even got to, you know, my game notes go all the way down to actually leaving the cave. So we're definitely not all the way there yet. All right. So Rayloff leads you to a street, to a tower across the street. Inside is Ulfric, no longer bound or gagged. Deep, noble voice. Rayloff, good to see see the beast. Missed you. I must get back to work. Regroup when we can. Ralof, of course, my lord. What I like this line actually. What was that thing? Could the legends be true? And I really just love the whole legends don't burn down villages. So I am going to do that. There. I like that line, so I'm going to make sure it's in the game. Just because, you know, it's fine. Legends don't burn villages to the ground. Ulfric leaves. I don't think that's going to be true. So anyway, but this is the thing. I don't think Ulfric leaves. But what Ralof will do is if we go back to the game, we can see what happens after that fantastic line. Let me just... Oh, no, never mind. Right.
We need to move now. Up through the tower. Let's go.
Right, so we go up through the tower. Let's go.
Up the stairs, quickly.
Yep, upstairs. I mean, obviously our hands are bound, so there's still nothing we can actually do.
Up the stairs, quickly.
So, up the stairs. I'm not quite sure why we... Well, it was the only door that's available, so we're going to go up the stairs. And... Ooh, boosh. And burn, baby, burn. Right, so... Now, as you're going up, you're like, oh, crud. Oh, what's going to happen? Did they die, by the way? No, they were all perfectly fine. So, there we go. We'll follow when we can. So what I'm going to probably do on this point actually of the game is actually, I think Ralof's going to stay with the party, because there's nowhere for them to go. You know, because if we actually look at where the NPC has gone now, he then returns back down here and just cowers here. I mean, what exactly is he going to be doing for the rest of the game? So he's probably going to stay with the party. And of course we have our first ability check. We need to jump, because we either jump or you fall. It's quite simple, really. And actually the funny thing is, it says this is the inn. If you actually look where we are, that's the tower where we were going to be executed. We've come into this tower. That is the little boy's house. It's not the inn at all. So we're going to jump across, take some damage. Now of course that's going to be an ability check. We'll figure that out when we get there. And we're going to come through. Now we can't, yeah, we're still looking around, but we can't actually pick anything up. There aren't any swords, there aren't any knives or anything for anybody to pick up. So go down a hole in the roof. There we go, get off the road. There's little Hamming. Ah, that looks like his Hamming's dad. Now this is where, of course, you meet Hadvar, who theoretically, this is the point at which point, you know, you're supposed to feel that, oh, maybe the Imperials aren't that bad. So I'm actually going to be changing a lot of this sequence. So we've got the jump through the watch. So we come through the house, and Ralof is actually going to still be with the party, and they're all going to follow the road down. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to explain this. I don't really want to build a map for this entire area. I could do it, but building a map with miniatures is possibly going to be a problematic, because of just how big of a town it is. So I don't know, we'll see about this, but we'll probably change all this, but let's just follow this all the way through. Basically just following your way through houses, busted houses, flames, so on and so forth. We're going to go down, but the point is, you come down to the gates of Helgen Keep. Let's pause it there. I did see the chat going. I will catch up in just a second. Just a coward. Kill him. Weigh the players down. Will you have everyone pick either Ralof or Hadvar for plot, or will you leave it open to choice to choose? Also, athletic checks DC 15. Okay, I forgot the first question. Yul Torshal, Fire Breath Shout. Yep, absolutely. And that is what in fact, actually, I do need to Alduin smashes the wall and breathes more fire into the floor above. Here, so this is where we climb the stairs. Obviously, he leads the party up the winding stairs, and then I will put in here. Thank you very much for telling me exactly what the shout is, so that I don't have to create the entire school of magic before I actually need to. So thank you very much. And then he flies away, leaving the way up blocked. The only way to proceed is to leap, not leap, you leap into an adjoining roof. DC 10 athletics or 1d6 bludgeoning damage. If they make the athletics check, they jump perfectly fine, 3-point landing. Or if they fail it, they'll still make it, but they'll take 1d6 bludgeoning damage. I do need to be careful, because if I roll a 6 on that, it's going to hurt, because I know that some of my party only has 8 HP, so I think there's going to be a few health potions knocking around somewhere. Do I need a big map? Just follow the road, everything is burnt and broken and fire everywhere, nowhere else to go. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, but the thing is, the difference being about being able to describe what's going on to a way that people feel that, for them to feel that there's nowhere else to go, as opposed to being able to see that there's just nowhere else to go. I might use a whiteboard. I might make a whiteboard map, which we'll see about that, and that might wait until the next episode. So yeah, there's that. That's what you're here for. Thank you very much. It is helpful that I mean, obviously I am going to be making index cards for all of these shouts. I do only need to find out what they are when my party comes across them. If they fail the jump, they get a Smexy Scar or lose an eye. I mean, can you imagine losing an eye on the very first ability check? Jumping down through the hole on the floor, jump, DC 10 athletics and 1d6 bludgeoning for failure. Auto pass for lowering down and through a door to the east. Again, this is kind of one of those things. If you failed the jump to begin with, if you lower yourself down, you'll be fine. So, this is one of those things. This might happen, it might not. I might explain to the players that, you can lower yourself down and not risk hurting yourself. Hadvar and some soldiers are trying to bring Alduin down, but the dragon lands in the street and fire breaths. No, you know what? I'm going to leave it as acid. Breathes them where they stand. Hadvar sees a party still alive prisoners. Follow me if you wish to stay that way. I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to ignore this and not have Hadvar do this. It's going to be Ralof that says to follow them if they wish to stay that way. I kind of want them to choose Ralof, but we'll get to that choice in a minute. You're getting smutty in my chat. Okay, so we follow the now empty street, and the way forward is blocked by a fiery mess of buildings and bodies as well as fallen rocks. So you turn left, darting behind a building. Between that and a wall, Ralof calls to you to stay close to the wall. Now this obviously is the bit that we just did. We got in there, we got between the building, and he lands on the wall above the players, and he breathes yet more acid towards the direction they are heading. He doesn't see the party due to him looking over them, and they are close to the wall. Now they follow the streets, dodging the dragon through empty buildings to the keep. At this point, we have the choice, which we haven't done in the game yet. So let's have a listen to see what is said between Ralof and Hadvar. Alright, so let's have a look then, shall we? Did I have this up during the last, or did I forget to put it up? Come with me if you want to live. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Come with me if you want to live. I want your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. Okay, so Ralof, you damn traitor, out of my way. We're escaping Hadvar. You're not stopping us this time. Both Ralof and Hadvar offer assistance to get the party to safety. Party will choose either Ralof or Hadvar to help them escape. And this is where I will allow the party to actually decide something, as it gives them the opportunity to feel that they're actually doing something to alter this story, as opposed to me just telling them what's happening. Again, the party follows the ally into the keep, where they find their weapons and items. Their armor was already donned. Now this is the important thing, because of course, again, if you played the game, you know that you're about to start combat. The last thing I need is for my players to need to spend 10 minutes putting on their armor that they didn't have on them to begin with. Unlike this game, where you can instantly equip different types of armor. You find a nice piece of armor that's better than the one you have, you change it instantly. In fact, if you're in the middle of a fight, you can instantly change your armor. Obviously with D&D, this is where we have to change it, because you need 10 minutes to do that. So they already had their armor on, so their armor class is not going to change, but at this point is where they can now don their weapons. They can pick up all of their items that they start the game with, and this is where, and the idea behind this is that what they've done is, now that they've escaped the execution, the way out was through the guard barracks, the tower. This is where they kept everything, you know, all of their prisoners' possessions were kept in the keep. And they can now find their possessions in chests and stuff that are just inside the keep that were going to be destroyed. And this is where we start rolling into some combat, which is fine. The very first time that they play combat. If Hadvar is their ally, in the adjoining room is 2 Stormcloaks that they must kill. Then Hadvar opens the locked door. If Ralof is their ally, there are 2 Imperial Guards that come through the locked door they must kill. This is a bit wrong, actually. I do know that when you're in Ralof, you stand in a room and the people will come in, and then you fight them, because they come through a door that's locked. I'm not so sure that it works that way around the other way. I think if Hadvar is your ally, he will... I think that is better. In the adjoining room, the 2 Stormcloaks that they must kill, which is basically where Ralof has just gone, and he would have tried to escape with a friend of his, and he would go in there. If not, if you go in the other door with Hadvar, those 2 characters would then move into that room where Ralof is. So I have to fiddle around with it a little bit. I kind of think it might come in handy to make a simple flowchart for player options and big events too, as a wick sheet. I'm not so sure what you mean by that, but I mean, to be honest with you, this option is quite simple. and there aren't many times that they're going to be that a choice. There aren't many times where a choice will affect the entire campaign. It's more of a case of what are they going to do in this particular session. I was a quick sheet. With Hadvar, he kind of just lets you loot a Stormcloak and you fight Stormcloaks in the torture room in the game, if I recall. I can't remember. But I'm kind of hoping that they follow Ralof, which is why I had Ralof follow them through the entire escape. I kind of want them to bond with him more than Hadvar, just purely due to the fact that it would be so much easier if my party decided to stick with one person. They do at this point have that option to go the other way. However, what we're going to do is we're going to roll initiative. Okay, and again, my song choice has changed because now we're not so much running for our lives and we're now in combat. So what we're going to do now is very, very quickly, and I don't think I've done this right, have I? No, I haven't done it right. Hang on a second. I've done this wrong. Let me bring up the gameplay. There we go. So, here we go. So this is what we're going to do now. And what if the party splits up between the two of them? You don't. Alright. So, let's go to Ralof. Because I'm... You son of a... You just hit me. I'm level 1, you know. Alright, so. Unlock my hands.
Come on, this way.
Yes. I'm here. Let me I'm right here. Look. Oh, there we go. Oh, music. PvP nightmare. Yeah, it will be a nightmare, and hopefully it's not going to happen. So, we've entered the keep with Hadvar or Ralof. Now, this, of course, is where I would say that, you know, this is where they find their weapons and items, and conveniently all marked in a individual chest.
That thing was a dragon, no doubt. Just like the children's stories and the legends. The harbingers of the end times. We better get moving. Come here. Let me see if I can get those bindings off.
Your hands weren't free for the jump. No, he doesn't do it until now.
May as well take Gunjar's gear. He won't be needing it anymore.
Yep, sorry Gunjar, I'm going to be taking this. So of course, as usual, it wouldn't... You know, I've now equipped all of that, but I don't really want to be doing that for my players.
Get that armor on, and give that axe a few swings. I'm going to see if I can find some way out of here. Ah, this one's locked. Let's see about that gate. Damn, no way to open this from outside.
Come on!
It's the Imperials! Take cover!
Get this gate open.
Freedom or
Get away!
Right, let's just get through this. Don't block my attacks, you son of a... Thank you. Come on, get on with it. There we go. Oh, you yielded. What did you get back up for? Alright, so we'll take the key and then we'll get on with just a couple of other... There we go, that's a bit better. Alright. So, this is where I now actually begin creating my first piece of combat, which is what I have a desk cam for. Now I get to build myself a map, which I'm really interested in. So, if I skip over here and clear my desk, and I get to use my 3D printed terrain. So what we can see, you can see it on your screen, I can't see it on mine. We have a room, it's a circular room. Unfortunately, I don't have any circular based tiles yet, so I can't do any circles rooms yet, but what I can do is I can create a square. Now what I'm going to assume is we can have a look at the basic size of it. and we have a single door on one side, we had a single door on the other side, and we have actually what I do want to do actually is have a look. We have a single door here. Now obviously that would be ideally be grates, but I don't have any grates yet. This of course is where you join Hadvar. We come in here, I believe Hadvar, yeah, you come in that door here with Hadvar, and yeah, you'll no doubt have a look around. There's chests and stuff in here and so on. You open that there's some weapons that you can pick up on the what sits there, but you know, it's fairly irrelevant. Alright, so what we can do is we can have a look to the size of this room, and I would say that this room may be somewhere in the region of about 50 feet across, and if it's a circle, it'd be 50 feet that way and that way. Alright, we have a look here. This is just an empty corridor with, you know, the door that we came in, and then a locked door here. Gets frustrated, square peg in a round hole. So, I know you want to see me build a map, so let's build a map. And I'm going to say that it's about 50 feet square. Alright? So, let me change my screen to the desk. Alright? And so what we're going to do is we get some dungeon tiles that I already have. And these are made with inch squares, and of course anybody used to D&D knows that 1 inch is 5 feet. So we can now consider building ourselves a map that we have just fought in. So we can get this. These are cut stone dungeon tiles, and if you want to see me painting these up, don't forget to check out my channel, my personal channel, Bases of Operations, on Sunday nights, where I will often be painting currently lots of D&D stuff, because that's what I've been doing. So we have a ton of these things. Some of these are still wet because I threw some wash on them before I began filming tonight. And we have a ton of tiles, various sizes, various shapes, and I do have some that are not quite ready to be used yet. I've got some double doors here, and I happen to have 2 sets of single doors, which will be quite handy. And I do have a couple of others here. Oh, right. I mean, never enough tiles. I never have enough tiles. So, we are going to make a round room that is actually going to be square. Yeah, I know, but you know, D&D, you change it to suit your needs. Alright, so, what we have, the very first thing we saw is the doors we came in were like these double doors. Alright, so the very first thing I'm going to do, let's see where I can put this so you can see it. Oh wait, you can see it all the way over here. Now what I'm going to do is, that was, if you can remember, that was made into a small corridor, kind of chamber hallway type thing. So what we'll do is we will make, out of these tiles, a generic kind of thing, like that. Alright? So what we can do is we can make that. This is the entranceway. Now what I could do is, for my players, the minute that they came into Helgen with their character, let us use this as my Dragonborn dad, whatever, and we'll use let's use this goblin as Ralof, because I don't have anything else ready made. So what I can say is, I can say to my characters that, yeah, you've entered this room. When I said it was 50 feet, I was saying from this here, not this entranceway, it's going to be 50 feet. So I can say to my characters that they can see 50 feet ahead of them. And 50 feet in 5 foot is 10 squares. So I have one here that is 4 squares long, and we can connect it there. One that is another one. Where's my other big square one? I've lost me. Oh, it's up there still. This is 8 squares. There we go. These aren't perfectly magnetized, which is a bit of a pain in the butt. There we go. And then of course these have 2 squares on them, which give us our 10 squares. And that is how far they can see ahead of them in the room. Now of course when my players enter the room, they can then see that it goes on for another 2 squares either side of that, which will give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we'll play with the geometry a little bit by saying that it's a little bit extra than 10. It's not quite a square room, okay? So we can add that there. And from there I can then build out the rest of the room. We will add in the locked door that's here, and we can add this in here. We need one there. We'll add that there, that there. Let's add in that, that there. We have a door, another door somewhere, another single door there. There's that, that, and that. There we are. Now of course we need a way for them to am I going to label my tiles and draw the tiles with the code of the type of tile needed as a reminder in future? Or just make a picture if it forgets? I think. Are you going to suggest taking a picture of this setup? You guys are ahead of the game. You guys already know how to do D&D, don't you? No. So what I'm going to do is, of course, the first thing that needs to happen is that my players need to find their items, and of course, scattered around the room. This is, I think I need to print out some extra dungeon furniture, because what I have here just doesn't quite fill in this space yet. But of course my players can now enter the room and they can find their equipment and so on and so forth. Alright, so you know, this is basically their first encounter. They'll come into this room, I will lay this out for them, and I will, as Missy T says, take a picture of this so that I can add it to my notes. Okay, now of course it's on my phone that I just took the picture, and if anybody's interested, I am going to post that onto my Twitch, onto my Discord, where I have a channel called Skyrim Home Game Sharing. Basically that means I can post something to my Discord from my phone and I can save it from there later on. You helped. I'm going to allow you to think you helped. Yes. But to be fair, that's what I was going to do the entire time anyway. Yes, no palm fighting for non-monks. Yes, so this is what I'm saying. So this is the where you enter when they made the choice about who they want to help. And to be honest with you, I think if they followed Hadvar or Ralof, to be honest with you, to make the game simple and what my players don't know won't hurt them, is they'll always enter this room. The difference being is if they're with Hadvar, he has the key to open that door. Whereas if they follow Ralof, the enemies that come through this door, which actually, by the way, they are 3D printed and they do function as doors, which is really cool. I'm just saying. But yeah, they can also, you know, and likewise with much more D&D stuff. I think what I'll probably do is a lot of their equipment can be posted, you know, on this side of the room. I do need some more furniture just to, you know, make it look a bit more real. But you know, they can choose if they wish that they're going to hide, and they can get a surprise round to anybody coming in. But on the whole, that is their first encounter. So that's that. So that makes sense to you, to me, DM. What they don't know won't hurt them. Or that they can hide and ambush the players. You can't actually see it on this end of the table, can you? I just realised you can't actually see. Well, you can just about see. Yeah, that they can hide behind all the furniture and stuff, so that they can ambush and get a surprise round and all that sort of jazz in for their for the fighting. And so, if I give you the computer view, we have roll initiative on 2 human guards. And so basically we're going to ignore that because we are at 1:45, so I've been doing this for an hour and 45 minutes already. But yeah, we have the first combat, which is with 2 human guards. We have the first, what's it? The thing is, human guards, now this is what I was kind of talking about, is about taking D&D enemies and turning them into Skyrim enemies. To be honest with you, I have here, if I bring this up here, firstly, let me just show you what some of the things that I have on my in my folder as my DM. I have my GM session notes, and I did actually print out my previous notes for this, and you can see this was what I have printed this out. It was what was previously written, but I will probably end up redoing it because I'm going through the game at the same time. So we have all sorts of, this is, you know, it's 2 pages long. This is probably going to turn into, say, 4 or 5 pages of DM notes. Lies, all lies. What's lies? Let's have a look. What we got? Makes sense to me. Same room, different flavour. That's what you referred to. Yeah, absolutely. Same room, different flavour. That's what happens. You know, you don't know it's the same room that you were going to go to anyway. Well, you do now that I've told you. And so if I ever do bring this to like the Meeple Palace and play it, you're like, oh, I know what you did. Nuts Pace, thank you very much for joining me. You've kind of caught the tail end of the show, though. I am kind of slowly getting towards the end of the show. But thank you very much for joining me. So yeah, I have my session notes, which was what I've been writing on this show. And what we have here as well, we have a section here called NPCs. Now, I do not have a character sheet for absolutely everything, but what I do have, and let's come along here with good old Ralof. Look at what we have here. Now, many of you players will already recognize something such as this. If I bring it up, this looks like a genuine character sheet, which it is. It is actually a proper character sheet for a character. However, there's a lot of information not here. There's no there's no spells, there's no, well, the spells is there. I mean, this is it. But this is Ralof. And what this will allow me to do throughout the entire game, time to add an hour to the clock. Stick around for another hour. 12-hour stream. Christ, no. Hell no. But yeah, what this will allow me to do is that it gives me the ability to play the NPCs, especially the characters, as actual characters. If my players later on in the campaign decides to fight Ralof, I have a solid plan about who he is and what he's going to be like. His armor class is 15. He has 66 health points. He is a level 9. I've written here Stormcloak Rebel, level 9. But actually what I did was I went to the monster manual and I looked up various fighter classes. I don't know if he wants to do 12-hour. He is human after all. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I do. I look human, but, you know, I wouldn't necessarily, you know, secrets. So, let me just bring up, let me just have a look to see what I can find here for a second. Let me see if I can find it. I think it was. Actually, I'll tell you what I did do as well. Is further in the back of the book, I do have this here, which is a really helpful. I did find this on the Trove as well. D&D spell list about all of the spells that are possible in the game, or certainly within the player's handbook, at least. Yeah, the player's handbook. But what I do have here is a list of enemies from the Monster Manual, Volo's Guide to Monsters, as well as, yeah, the Monster Manual and Volo's Guide to Monsters. And what I did was I had a look through these, and I looked for humanoid, and I looked for people that I think would be a good idea. And I found Champion, which is from Volo's Guide to Monsters. And if we have a look, let me just find out let me find the PDF for that, which is here. Let that load up. Who's shaming who? Oh no, Space has never been human. He's shaming me already. You're shaming me on I'm not even streaming on my own channel and you're shaming me. So what we need to do, oh whoa, wow, that's really big. We don't want it that big. We want to see if we can find the champion from the NPCs, which is on page 209, which is like right at the bottom. So we're going to go through these, and we go through these, and you can't even see them all anyway because I've got the wrong screen up. Oh, I just had it then. Where is it? Here we go. There we go. Was it this one? I don't think it was this one. Let's have a look at this. Right, so we see here, this is what I've got. And basically what I did was I turned the... I just grabbed one of these. So this is basically an enemy. You know, an enemy, it gives you the experience, the challenge rating. I don't think I turned Rayloff into a champion. But basically, this is what I'm talking about, is just reskinning these characters. I found one that I liked, the look of, that I felt was ideal for a particular character. And I literally just changed the name of it. And that's exactly what I did. It was just like, right, there you go. That is now who Rayloff is. He is this character. I gave him a class. I gave him a class that was similar to what his proficiency bonus would be, considering, you know, looking at the sort of, for argument's sake, the wisdom here is 14 plus 2, saving throws is wisdom plus 5. So you know you can tell that the proficiency bonus here is plus 3. So you would be at least a level 5 as a blackguard. And then I just went from there, and it's kind of given it this idea. It reminds you of when you were putting together your Underdark campaign. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this is basically what this whole series is going to be about. It's about what I'm doing to create a campaign, but instead of creating a D&D campaign and coming up with a D&D story, I'm taking a pre-existing story and I am turning it into something that can be played with a group of friends. I chose Skyrim to be the basis of this campaign because it's a story that already has levels built into it. It's already designed to get harder as you go along. It's already designed that the higher up you go, the harder the enemies will be, and so and forth, so and so like that. Fun, but also slightly stressful at the same time because it was my first huge campaign. Yeah, and it is a daunting task, and this is why this so far has basically been an episode where I have gone through half of my players' first game. They're half of their first tabletop game. I still have 2 more combats to do, as well as ending their first enemy. They're ending their first game, where they take a short rest outside Helgen for the first time. So hopefully we'll be alright, and my players will go along with that. And I think, to be honest with you, I have been live for 2 hours. It's 5 to midnight. I haven't quite been 2 hours, but been close enough. So I will wrap it up there. I will save the game off stream, just so that I can make sure I save it properly and all of that. I will continue this game and this walkthrough next week, where I may actually leave this. I might set this up so you can see what am I going to do from after this. So, you know, once they've finished their encounter, where are they going to go from there? Am I going to use the dungeon tiles, or am I just going to theatre of the mind and leave it there? You know, there's something to be said for being able to open up more and more of a map and seeing more of it unfold, and perhaps backtracking and seeing where you're going to go from there. So we'll see what happens there. You want more? Well, you can have more, but you'll have to wait a week for me to do it. I will be back again next Thursday at around about the same time, where we will continue playing Skyrim and turning it into a D&D campaign. So I thank you very much for the first episode. Thank you very much for letting me know. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it, and don't forget, it is currently live on Twitch, YouTube, Mixer, DLive. I don't think I've missed any, but also you can watch the VOD on YouTube as soon as it's finished downloading, you know what it is, preparing itself. And yeah, thank you very much for the shout outs. Don't forget to join the Discord for the Meeple Palace if you want to catch up with me. If you have any questions about how I'm creating this D&D, you can find me on that Discord, or you can find me around the web, following to my Twitch. And if you follow that to my Twitch, you can then also follow it to all of my Discord, Instagram, and so on links. So there's that. I think that pretty much rounds it up for tonight. I've got a very sore throat. I think, Missy T, you are the owner of this channel, if you're signed in. If not, I won't bother with a raid tonight. So I'll say thank you very much for watching me. It has been a pleasure doing this, and I really hope you enjoy the rest of it. And once my players start playing this campaign, I hope you enjoy following along to their escapades. Alright, so thank you all for watching this one, and I will catch you next week at the same time. And don't forget, I will also be back tomorrow night with Kobold Cavern, where I will be picking up where we left off with Rogar's story, which is going to be very interesting as well. Alright, ta-ra for now, and I'll catch you next time. Alright, bye.